everybody, Karthik Subramaniam over at ADHI Schools. Wanted to make a quick video on a pretty monumental change that is going to be taking place as of July 1st of 2024 for residential landlords in California. Prior to July 1st, in reference to security deposits, residential landlords were permitted to charge up to a 2-month security deposit on an unfurnished residential dwelling or a 3-month security deposit if the property happened to be furnished. Over the last 5 years, the cost of renting an apartment or a home in California has just skyrocketed. It's gone through the absolute roof. And in response to that, legislators have passed a law that basically says, as of July 1st, the maximum security deposit that a landlord can charge is 1 month. The thought with this is that it would make, at least in theory, it would make renting a home a little more affordable than it was before, because landlords were permitted to charge a 2-month security deposit and maybe even the first month's rent. So let's say you're renting an apartment, it's $3,000 a month. You could pay the first month's rent. If you move in on the first, that's $3,000. Then a 2-month security deposit, that's $6,000. $6,000 in a deposit plus $3,000 in the first month's rent is like $9,000 to move into an apartment. If it was furnished, it could be even more expensive. So as of July 1st, 2024, landlords are not allowed to charge more than a 1-month security deposit. Now, there is a carve out for smaller landlords. If you own no more than 2 residential rental properties that collectively have no more than 4 units, then you can still charge up to a 2-month security deposit. But the 3-month deposit seems to be kind of out the window. Now, let's be honest, I've never seen a 3-month security deposit, and very few apartments or houses are furnished anyway, and relatively speaking. So the maximum deposit really was 2 months. Now, again, if you're a smaller landlord and you own no more than 2 rental properties, collectively equaling no more than 4 units, and you have to own it as an individual or in an LLC that is owned by a natural person. So again, if you're a smaller landlord, maybe you can still charge up to a 2-month deposit, but for most, at least institutional investors or professional investors, or even small to medium-sized landlords, you're going to be stuck at a 1-month security deposit. Now, I wrote down some benefits. One benefit, of course, is it becomes, at least in theory, more affordable to rent an apartment or rent a home. Lower upfront costs make housing more accessible and more affordable. So I understand. It reduces one of the biggest barriers to renting a place, and that's the move-in money. So that can be reduced. So that's a good thing. It at least makes it a little more fair. Hey, the maximum deposit that anybody can get charged is 1 month. It stimulates the rental market. You could argue that, hey, more people have access to more rentals because the security deposit in theory is going to be less. This should stimulate the rental market. I wrote that down here. I wrote down some cons to this, and I'd love to hear in the comments from you as to what you think. Is this going to be a net positive or a net negative to the overall, to society? Because housing is a very basic, fundamental need. I wrote down a risk or a con is that there is a risk to property owners. The main argument against capping security deposits is that we have increased risk to landlords. Security deposits serve as a safety net to property owners to cover unpaid rent, damage to the property beyond normal wear and tear, and just protection for a landlord. Another negative I wrote down is that a potential increase in rent. In theory, a landlord might advertise his or her unit at a higher monthly rent to offset the lower security deposit that they could have got before this law goes into effect. Discourages investment in rental properties. It's already hard enough, at least the argument goes, it's already hard enough as a landlord. Now, by the way, I'm not naive. I know that no people are out there advocating for real estate owners. Hey, you got to make sure we protect these rich landlords. I understand that, but now you might have fewer people wanting to invest in residential rentals because the security deposit is capped. So anyway, net, I just wanted to put out a video reminding you guys, I'm sure you've read this or seen this before, that there's going to be some pretty dramatic changes made to security deposits in California. But I'd love to hear from you. Is this going to be a positive? Is this going to be a negative? And I will respond to all the comments. So again, I'd love to get a conversation going. Is this good or bad? Now, my position is that, hey, why don't we encourage people to make homeownership a reality. Now, I know I'm a real estate broker saying that. Maybe we should have some incentives to make sure that that happens for more Americans. Make sure that more people can afford ultimately to buy a home. Make sure that more people can afford to get out of this crazy high rental environment that we're in right now. I mean, I look at some 2-bedroom apartments that I knew were renting for $1,400-1,500 a month just 10 years ago. They're $2,800-2,900 a month today. Society needs to make housing affordable, right? We need to make sure that more people can afford to live. Separately though, why not make it easier to buy a home? Why not encourage developers to build more houses? I know we have a housing shortage. I know no one wants to sell their house today at a 2.5% fixed interest rate, sell it and get a home loan at 7%. I understand the challenges that the housing market faces in 2024. However, is capping security deposits a way to do that? Comment below. Would love to hear your feedback. Talk to you guys on the next one. Thanks.